Hello, Webtoon fans and creators. I'm Audrey, and this is the Webtoon Wave podcast. This week, I sat down with Kamryn and Matthew, the creators behind the comic Bo Ero on Webtoon Canvas. The story of Bo Ero follows Ero, an aspiring goddess who just so happens to be directing the biggest reality TV show the heavens have ever seen. But when her main star, Bo, a human man, fails to follow the script and find his soulmate, she's got to take matters into her own hands. Matthew and Kamryn submitted Bo Ero to the Webtoon Legends contest, which we talk about a lot in this episode. So let's dive in how they created it. Hi Matthew, hi Kamryn. Welcome to the podcast. I am so excited to have you on today.
Hi. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for wanting to come on the show. I know I was on Pantheon, for our listeners, I was on Pantheon Talks and we were just reading random contest entries, and the Wheel of Fortune shows you guys' comic Bo Ero, and I will tell you, Pantheon and I talked about it quite a bit after it was done. Like, it really stood out to me in what we read that day. I'm really excited to talk about it with you.
Thank you. That means a lot to us.
Yeah. Okay, so just to get into it, for our listeners who don't know you guys or haven't read your comic Bo Ero, just give us an introduction to how you guys met and how this all just kind of came together.
Yeah, for sure. So, we first kind of met working together in the animation industry. We had both gone to the same animation school, just at different times. So we didn't know each other then, but, we got to know each other a bit just through work there. And then we sort of reconnected a little while ago when we started working for
A mutual friend.
Yeah, for a mutual friend, and sort of doing a little bit of teaching art. And, we really were getting along well. And that was about the time when Webtoon announced their new contest. They're looking for new entries. And my current comic, Poppy, wasn't really eligible for various reasons. So I was like, well, be neat to do this other idea that I have. And so the idea for Bo Ero was just like, what if you had the little angel and devil on your shoulder, but they were like full size, and then they're in control so much to the point where they're like writing a script for your life.
Yeah.
And you have no idea. So it's about an angel of love named Ero, an aspiring goddess of the heavens, who is in charge of this guy, Bo. So, Ero and Bo and Ero. And she's, in control of his love life, just like a Cupid, right? And she's so much in control that she actually has a script written for him to follow, and is so in charge that, she films him as well. And she records his love life for a TV show for the heavens, like the Truman Show,
Yep.
Truman Show and How I Met Your Mother. And he's, his quest for love or whatever. And she's just in control, manipulating. And he has no idea that this is all going on with his life, that this is why his life is the way it is. And so after years of manipulating this poor guy, Ero finally decides, okay, this is when he's going to meet his soulmate. And he doesn't. Something happens. There's a devil who has just thrown a wrench into her plans, and after realizing there's no other option, she's forced to go down and show herself to him in order to help fix his love life and meet his soulmate. So that's the main premise.
And then we slapped some like magical girl anime inspired art on that.
We got girl inspired art. We've got some romance in there. We've got a little bit of action for a couple bits. So a little bit of everything. And it's very magical, very celestial. Some of the art is just really killer.
Yes, agreed. So how did your love of Sailor Moon and She-Ra and the Truman Show kind of inspire the story? Like, how did you factor in all of those inspirations into it?
Whatever I like in here, so I pick parts of it up. Like, ooh, I like how She-Ra does like the little blushies, or I like how Sailor Moon has this like innocent, like youthful look to the art, where it's, and like I love the story itself being like telling your emotions and like being powerful with your emotions. Like your emotional strength is that superpower, and so I like putting that into my designs. I don't know if that makes sense at all. And I was also
No, it does. Yeah.
that Instant Miso, the creator of Siren's Lament, that was a big inspiration for me. Like that's how I got on the platform reading. I read like the whole thing. I've been like, and so it really inspired me to actually like try comics on that platform and stuff. And so I
Dude,
think about
me too.
her, yeah, I think about her amazing like
I love her so much. She's such a sweetheart.
yeah. Just I take little bits and pieces because it's a contest entry. We didn't have time to decide like a different style. So, but Matthew specifically started me for that style that I have already. But it's just been like little bits and pieces of things I love.
Yeah. I mean, I had seen your art and I was like, because it's a romance, which I haven't really done before. So I was like, well, I definitely need a feminine touch, if you want to say. I seen your art and I was like, sure, we can do this and we'll work it out. Yeah. As for the writing aspect of it, yeah, like I said, the premise is basically Truman Show meets How I Met Your Mother. You know, I think How I Met Your Mother is more than just like, okay, yeah, there's a guy looking for his soulmate there. I just love the really tight writing of it. Like it's a comedy, but the How I Met Your Mother characters are so well done and like have a lot of heart. And their sort of social and friend dynamic was a big inspiration. Like there's some characters that at this time you haven't met yet. They'll be in the upcoming episodes, but you'll sort of see reflections of the main cast of How I Met Your Mother in them.
Okay.
They relate to one another, where they are in their lives, how they think about one another.
The kind of community they build together.
The community they build together, their relationships and like history and like what they will and won't do. Because I mean that's a show that went on for 9 seasons and had just tons of like in jokes and like references and callbacks and just they've really rich history and it really felt like real people. So I really wanted to channel those, you know, feelings into it while having this big cosmic you know, framing device.
That's what I love about the magical girl genre. It takes like those emotions that we feel on a day-to-day level and like now we're fighting bad guys and we're feeling things. Like it's crazy. Girl, my love, like whatever, like these girls will be like, my love life is the most biggest thing, but also this monster that's about to get us all and like destroy the world. There's a balance, guys.
I mean that was the idea that I pretty much pitched to Kamryn because I was like, well, I'm gonna, you know, I started with just an initial sketch that was just horrible. And I was like, I really either need you or somebody you know to like help me out with the art on this because I just was not going to have time myself. Like I can write the script, I can get the layouts, I can like kind of direct you, but for the actual art, like I definitely needed help and Kamryn was just right on board.
I was so dazzled because I was like, he pitched it. I was looking at a sketch, I was like, oh no, like that's not how I imagined her. And so I started drawing it and I sent it back and I was like, well, I have all the time in the world while I'm at home because I had recently moved out of the city back home to take care of my family. They're not doing quite well right now. So I was kind of going there to give them some extra support and maybe save up a little to get back to the city. And then, yeah, so that was really good. I had some time and I was like, sure, let's do this. And the concept's really fun. Like it feels
absolutely.
I've never seen it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the end of our first like talk about it, just me pitching the idea to you, like, are you interested? And you already had done like a couple.
I had ideas.
You already had pages of drawing.
I had head cannons.
Yeah, which I mean, you had these head cannons. You had this like, you were like the first fan, and a lot of that just became canon because now you're part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was great.
Yes, I absolutely love the concept. It's like taking the trope of an angel and devil on your shoulder, but hey, guess what? They're actually directing your life, scripting it out and airing it for other people. The angel is all about making it the biggest show ever, and it's incredible. And I had so much fun reading it on Pantheon Talks, and I need to catch up. I need to read the rest before the contest ends. Okay. So for both of you guys having a background in animation, you, Matthew, already working on your comic Poppy back in the day, was being webcomic creators like dreams of yours for a long time, or was it kind of something that just fell into your laps?
I mean, I think we've both been wanting to make our own stories forever. I've been doing comics since, you know, I can hold a crayon, of course, you know, plenty of school book note paper comics stapled together.
Yeah.
And then even Like my first web comic was this one called Quiet, back in like 2015, I think was when I first released it. And then did a couple like self-published books and stuff here and there. So like, yeah, comics has definitely been kind of the first passion. I went into animation because there wasn't a comic school, but there was
Yeah.
an animation school. So I was like, all right, that's the next best thing. And then a lot of the skills I learned from animation were very transferable to comics. So it's been a constant build up of skill and process. So yeah.
Oh yeah. For me, I think I've always just loved art. Like I've also been drawing, so I could pick up a pencil, like on the walls, wherever. And I loved like Magical Girls as a kid, and I loved like the manga. I'm holding one of them right now, actually, the Sailor Moon manga. What I used to do is like, watch the animes and stuff, and then I do my own little comic where I basically just like reskin them, like, oh, Magical Girls, but they're doing this, but they're basically this. And I used to do that all the time. And then I tried to do like an online comic in high school that I was gonna post on Webtoon, but I didn't really know anything about anything. So I was like not confident. Like I tried to put it out there on Instagram. I went to college, so I couldn't finish it. And then yeah, I went did animation, and it's kind of just fell into place now for me where I'm like, this is a great opportunity for me to work with someone who knows a little more about comics as a background and then use what I know from college and other art stuff I've done to make my own one day. But also, where else am I going to get this creative control?
Yeah, that's definitely one difference between this and animation. I mean, for me, this is a bigger production. I've got both Kamryn and then James as our colorist. So I'm sort of taking on that director role. So it is a little bit like a studio almost. But because there's so few of us, it's a lot more creative control and just we can do exactly what we want and freedom.
Yeah, I love that there's like you have kind of the structure of a studio almost, but you guys can just call whatever shots you want. You can do whatever you want to the story, and you don't have to worry about any executive telling you or any editor telling you like, no, do it this way.
Yeah, we just go back and forth.
No, I mean it is a collaborative process. I mean, you're the artist, so then, a lot of the character designs were yours and you fought back on me in a few things and for the better, it's
Yeah.
always great to have an outside view of if you're, not quite getting it or they have a better idea or even just with some of the story, you're like, oh, it'd be really great to see this. And then as the writer, I have to come up with all these reasons to justify that. And
And
those
then I squeeze them in there because I want it to happen. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, this could happen.
and it works well because then it fleshes out the world and all those reasons for a thing to happen become lore and world building.
It just gets that ball rolling.
Yeah, so a lot of episode 4 is the backstory, the world building, the exposition episode. A lot of that came about because we had to justify all these cool things that happened in the first 3 episodes to justify them as far as a comic story can go. It doesn't have to be perfectly realistic, but you can take advantage of that to add more depth. So having that collaborative process has been a lot better than if I was just by myself.
Me too. It's easier to not get stuck when you have someone else to take half the workload and like push you, be like, this needs to be done. Like a contest, that's a perfect opportunity to like get something out.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to talk about the contest, I think this has been a great motivator for a lot of people. I mean, because I've had this idea for Bo and Arrow in some stage of just like a Cupid controlling a guy's life and writing his story for a couple of years now, just as like a scrap note, just, oh, that'd be an idea, throw it away for later. And then the contest comes, I'm like, all right, what ideas do I have? And oh, this one might work. So and then yeah, the deadlines helping us figure out exactly what needs to get done when, because we wanted to be in as soon as it opened, and we were there the first day it was, and we done a lot of like practice with like uploading, because our first episode was huge. It was almost too big for Canvas.
I love my gradient tools so much.
Yeah, but the more effects you have, such as gradients and any sort of particles, it eats up the bandwidth and the file size, and we had to export at smaller sizes, smaller scales, and eventually we got it working. But we were doing all this like before the contest opened, just testing it, so that when it came around, we could just upload and we were sure that we weren't going to have any problems, and it worked out really well for us.
Well, I'm glad I did because I know how stressful it can be, especially when you have a time crunch. And when did you guys start working on it officially?
January or February.
Well, I first came to you in like early December of
Right.
last year. That was our first like let's do this as an idea.
But we were quite busy until then.
Yeah, it was Christmas time, and I had just been let go of my last job, and which was also part of the motivator of okay, I have time, let's do something else here. But yeah, we were both so busy and like just a little stressed out, and okay, let's put a pin in this, come back to it in the new year. And then yeah, January we did sort of like a kickoff meeting, which we had done in animation, where it's just like the first day of the first episode. Okay, here's what needs to get done. Here's an overview. We actually read through the whole script. I had drawn up like layout sketches, basically storyboards,
Weekly
quota, what our schedule was going to look like, deadlines, all that stuff in January. So we were ready to go in March when it opened, and we had the first episode just completely done.
And I had been sketching the characters in December and stuff, and kind of trying to solidify how I wanted to see them before even kickoff started.
Yeah, even before then, we were doing like character designs, feedback, and like going back and forth, and the colors, figuring out what colors Ero should be. We went through probably 20 different iterations.
So many.
Wow.
I think which a lot of that came from that animation background of like we know what the process is of character designs and concept and all this, so it really gave us a bit of an edge on the production side to really get a smooth flow going.
Yeah, it's definitely helpful when you guys already have that experience develop like those stages of the creation process. You're thinking of the story, you're also thinking of the script. But then it's like, oh, you need to think of how the characters look and how they can look distinctive to each other. And then you're thinking about, oh, color palettes. Oh, what does our backgrounds look like? Are we even going to be drawing our backgrounds? Are we going to use assets? All that stuff is just such a hefty thing to take on. So it's good that you guys have each other to kind of balance that out and help each other where you can, especially because you have those shared skills in that aspect.
Yeah. And he's great. It's a really good, like, he doesn't have studio experience, but like between Matthew with the studio experience, it flows really nicely.
Yeah, like I'm in charge of you and you're in charge of him, so it all works out for that. And,
it's not great to be in charge of your boyfriend, but
yeah, they're more than one way.
He just knows what's in my brain, and I only trust him to do the coloring how I want to do it. But like he'll add his own flair. Like I'm like, okay, like I know you'll make this look good.
Yeah, they always make it look good. I'm the first one who gets to see the like finished pages, and I'm just like gushing over it every time.
Oh,
you're a fan that way.
I'm James's first fan. That's our
okay.
Because I'll see it.
That you see when I interview people who are on like a team, if they're like a duo. I mean, I've interviewed several and just talked to several. It makes me kind of like, I kind of wish I had somebody that was like doing it with me sometimes, but I think it's great that you guys can collaborate on it, and you did a really awesome job. The story is so original, and I loved what you did with it. But I'd also like to talk about what were some of like the more challenging aspects of collaborating to create Bo Ero.
Yeah. Process, there's ups and downs, and especially when everyone sort of has that equal say. You might veto one idea or whatever, but it all works out in the end. The biggest roadblock we came to early on was because when we were first conceptualizing the idea and working together, neither of us were really working, and like the animation industry in recent years has been taking just hit after hit, and it's just been really hard to find work, so we're like, okay, we have a bit of downtime, let's channel our creativity and our skills into this. And so we went along the first episode there really well, and then Kamryn got a part-time job, just
actually I think it was full-time.
Was it full-time?
It was a full-time job,
so
but I was like, I've done 3 jobs before, I'll do it at night.
Yeah, right, because I feel like everyone has at least 3 jobs these days. I definitely have a few side hustles here and there. Because the previous year I had been working full time while working on Poppy, and I put out a lot less than I wanted to. So I knew the like burnout was real, and I had worked myself to illness before, very, very bad. So I was like, I fully understand that issue. So the thing that came about with that when Kamryn was working full time and also trying to do Bo and Arrow was the first time she missed a deadline.
Yeah.
And I could instantly see the sign of like, okay, like this is not viable to do both. Like, what are we gonna do? And around that time, I had shown we had the first maybe 5 or 6 like files. We call them pages. We work on five panels to a page. That's
Yeah, that's me too.
Yeah, and that gets us pretty good pacing wise. That's about the average comic page, give or take. So I had shown our finished stuff to some people, and they went through literally the exact same thing that you and Pantheon did when you read it. They were like, oh, okay, this is interesting. This is great. Oh, hang on. No, it's all being filmed. Oh, he doesn't know. Freaking out. They were like, this is amazing. And like, I was like, okay, we have something here. Let's commit.
The challenge was getting that schedule going because I
Yeah.
had needed that job so I could save up and come back to the city.
Right, because you weren't even in the same time zone at that
No.
time. That was another challenge.
Wow.
But I was like, okay, I came into a little bit of money, not a lot, but it was enough that the reasonable thing to do would be to put it away and invest it and save it, or could take a risk and hire Kamryn full time on this. Because when we initially went in on this, I just promised 50-50 of any prize winnings that we end up with if we win, right? So if we didn't win, then neither of us get anything, which would kind of suck. But
you kind of lose some money too.
yeah, so, but I was like, okay, like we talked and I was saying, like, what's an amount that will be enough for you to do this full time and also help you out? So we negotiated on a price, and I said, okay, let's do this full time. You put in your 2 weeks, and now, for the last 3-4 months, she's just been working for me, which is honestly a little bit of a dream come true.
It's really fun.
I've always wanted to like make my own studio, so like to kind of have someone working for me and to be in charge like that, and also to be able to help out a friend because you were able to like move back and
Yeah, it was really awesome. And oh man, I lost my thought. Just with having James there too, the colorist, it's good because then I don't get burnt out doing all of it. Like, when you stare at the same thing for so long, you're like, get it out of my face, get it out of here. I can do that. I can just put it on him.
Yeah, no, he's helping out of the kindness of his heart. But now I don't feel bad that if we don't win, then at least I paid for the work, and now because I will still own it and I'll be able to take it somewhere else if need be. I hope.
Yeah.
When picks it up, I think it would be good for their platform. I'd love to work with them, of course. But now I won't feel guilty of like, yeah, you just worked like 6 months of your life and we didn't get anything out of it. Like,
I got learning experience.
you got a lot of learning experience, and we ended up with a good product. I think that's another side of the contest is that like there's thousands of entries and only a few people are going to be selected. But even if you don't win, you made a comic, you wrote a comic, you drew a comic, you uploaded a comic, and you promoted a comic. Look at what you did. You did it,
Yeah.
And like, tons of people I know would not have done that. Like I personally know a few people whose first comic was for this contest and they got it done and they actually made some pretty great comics for it. And even if they don't, they have that and they have that experience that they did the first one. Now the next one's going to be even better. So it's like win-win, really, if you look at it my
really
way.
Enjoying series that I've seen.
Yeah, there's some great ones out there.
Are there? Well, okay, I'll ask you this and I'll get to my next question. Were there any, in your guys' opinions, what were your favorite entries that you read for the contest?
To it, the Bible. What is it?
Oh, it's like the Bible Hood version.
It's in the comedy one.
Yeah, it's in the category. And they just tell small snippets of Bible stories, but it's like anime-esque, and they just have an attitude, and it's the funniest thing. Like the first one is like Jesus turning water into wine, and he's like, "Yo, keep this party rolling. What do we need? What do we need? Let's get this buzz, y'all." And it's like borderline blasphemous, but also like kind of genuine.
It's so great.
I don't know.
So charming.
And you can tell
that
there's a lot of
sounds amazing.
Oh, it's so funny. It's so good.
Yes, that's one of my faves. And I don't know a lot of the names of the ones, but I was watching Pantheon Talks like go through and read them, and so I was like watching along, reading with, and like there was some really cool art, some really good, strong premises. I don't remember the names of them because I had sat there at my desk doing my own comic, watching it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, no, they are a lot of good ones. A couple that I remember. There's one in the suspense, or what's it called?
Most
Gripping.
gripping.
Yeah,
Most
most
gripping.
gripping. Called Taking Inventory, which is
Mm.
about this like I think she's a teenage girl doing investigative journalism into this like Amazon type company that basically just employs billions of people, takes over the world, and she's like, there's a lot of suspicious stuff going on. It's like retro future tech, like it looks like the 70s, but they got like hover scooters, they got
Ooh.
stuff, and there's like a lot of good music there. So
I'm
I
gonna have to write this down.
the art, yeah, Taking Inventory, and the art is so good. It's so good. It's such a weird thing. This is just an artist thing for me. The way they draw noses is
Mm.
really good. I know it's a weird thing to
Noses are
focus
so
on,
hard.
but it's so appealing and just yeah, no, it works. And then one I'm gonna shill my buddy, but it's really good.
Go for it.
It's called Not on the Quest. Um,
Not on the quest.
Not on the Quest, which I love the premise. So it's a teenage boy in school, and then a portal opens up, and they're like, "You're the chosen one. You need to come save this magical realm." And he gets pulled into a magical realm and has tons of adventures and grows up a barbarian. And then it's like 15 years in this adventure world. But we don't see any of that because when he comes back, he's like 30 years old. He's like, yay high barbarian, but no time has passed on Earth. So now he has to go back to school
As the big barbarian.
as the big barbarian. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Okay, I took a screenshot of it. I will definitely have to check that
I
out too.
I love the premise. It's like there's an episode of Star versus the Forces of Evil that plays a similar one.
I think about
Oh
that.
yeah, when
Yeah.
Marco goes off and he comes
Yeah,
back.
yeah. So
He's like,
imagine
I've
that.
lost my abs.
I know, but imagine if he kept the abs, and that's the stories. Yeah. So
Amazing.
it's pretty great. I really enjoy his stuff. So I'm gonna plug him. And then the only other one that I can remember is this fantasy romance called The Magehood of Marcy Gray.
The Magehood of Marcy Gray.
Magehood of Marcy Gray, which is a bit more your standard, like, it's very cozy. It's like fantasy animals going to like magic
Ooh,
school, and like,
yeah.
I think the idea is
The
that
art
she
looks
has
really
like
good.
more raw talent for magic, but she needs to learn to control it. And then there's like
Mhm.
preppy rich kid who's like, "Oh, you're an outworlder. Oh, you should know better about magic. You haven't studied." Oh, yeah. So, but like, she's just sweet, and it's yeah, that one's a good one. I like that one. So those are the only ones I can remember.
There's
But
a lot out there that's just such gold.
there's a lot of good
Like I
ones.
want
Mhm.
Yes.
I need to like set aside actual time at some point to just see what I can find to read. I mean, these days I kind of only have time for my guest comics.
Yeah. Well, get some good ones on there at least.
So now that the initial submission period is over, what are your guys' feelings about what you did and like what are you hoping for in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy with how we did. Hey.
I'm
Yeah.
like we did it and I got learning experience and it's fun.
Yeah.
I'm just having fun. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean I'm working. I mean sometimes, but
Yeah, I know that's the thing. If it's a project you really, really love, then it's not going to feel like work. It is obviously work. I mean, we put a lot of effort in, especially early on, where we're kicking off like 3-4 months prior to get in. But like I'm really proud of what we
yeah.
done.
Like either way, we did it in the race.
Yeah, no, we did it.
Yeah.
And
You guys.
our numbers are about as good as I could ask for. Like I think because I have a large audience with Poppy, and I put a few advertisements in some of the comics. I didn't want to push it too hard, just enough to say, hey, I've got a new one coming. Like, go check that out. I know it's a lot different than the usual Poppy stuff, so I understand if not everyone's cup of tea. But, enough eyes have seen it, and those who read it do really like it, and I think that's good.
I really like reading all the comments that we get.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
the thing with, like, they haven't really done this before, so any comments at all that they get is just, so
Yeah.
touching and heartwarming, so it's really
Museums are like, oh wait, we do have good art.
uh,
You do. Yes, you do. You guys
yes.
need to give both of yourselves like a huge pat on the back because you did so well. I like absolutely love the story. It is so unique and I love that you keep getting those slow reveals while you're reading it and you're like, "Wait, this is not what I thought it was going to be. This is awesome." And I feel like readers really enjoy that. And you can see like you guys have like all the comments you get, they're just so positive and it just makes me so happy for you guys and I really wanted to work out for you. Like I'm
Yeah.
crossing my fingers.
Yeah, I'm like, because with the judging process, obviously there's tons and tons of entries. I don't know what their process is like, but we were in early enough and we've kept floating enough near the top that like I'm sure there's been some eyes on us in some capacity. And we look at the judging process they talk about in the rules about how audience engagement is like weighted 40% in their decision.
Mm-hmm.
Which, yeah, I don't think that's going to be raw numbers because I've seen a few
Yeah.
series where some of their numbers are a little suspicious, and maybe I just don't
Mm.
understand how it works. But I've seen, yeah, the metrics and all that. But I've seen at least one that had more likes than views, and I was just very confused.
Interesting.
I've
Huh.
so there's all sorts of shenanigans people can get up to, but I think what they're really
Yeah.
looking for is a series that the audience does like and engages with, where they
Mm-hmm.
want to see more. Because that's what they want is a series that people are going to enjoy and engage with and talk about and really really like. So I think that's more what that metric means, at least in my eyes, is do you have potential to take it more and do people enjoy what you have? So
Yeah.
even the like ones who are just in at the last minute and have low numbers, if they have enough that the people who are reading it like it, I think that's still going to weight in their decision.
Yeah. And I have a one of my friends was saying that their editor had been reading entries like the last 2 weeks straight, and they would have like out like day long meetings, like the team, like the editorial team, just going over entries. And I mean, there's a lot, right? Like you see Pantheon posting the numbers weekly, and it ended with like 3,800 something entries. So
That's what we estimated. Even just the like, and especially the romance category, it's like over 50
yeah,
top entries.
There's been a couple that I don't think actually meet contest rules. Like there's an AI one
Yeah,
that we
yeah.
saw.
yeah. That was surprising. I saw a couple AI ones. I was like, really?
It was fun from like a artist aspect, like kind of like go in and be like, okay, like the framing's weird, and like just like pick it apart in like a scientific animation kind of art.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak ill of anybody or anything like that, but yeah, I do agree. I think there's a large number of entries, but there's probably tons that just do not qualify in the
Yeah.
end for one reason or another. Like
Yeah.
I've seen a couple people talk about having to rearrange panels because it didn't count for enough
Mm,
panel count for that, or ones that just didn't get enough entries in, or things like that. I think
yeah.
the one part that is a little iffy with me is just the re-uploads because I've seen
Mm,
there's ones that are brand new and made for this, like ours, and then there's some that were remakes, like I think yours. Like we were just looking at
mm.
yours for this. Even the old one looked like we were really enjoying it. We were
Yeah.
like I think that's a great reason the contest. Like, oh, I want to redo what I did and do it better because now you
Yeah.
have that skill and that hindsight, which is fantastic. I enjoy
Mhm.
those. But when it's just like a pure re-upload of something you
Oh
already
yeah, where
did,
they're just yeah. Yeah.
it's technically allowed by their ruling, but for me, it's like that's not the spirit of the contest. I don't
Yeah.
feel, but I mean, I don't make the rules. If they win, congrats to them. But
Hmm.
for me, I like it's a chance to like really go through the process of making a webtoon. Because if you do get picked up, that's going to be a whole process of like making these
Hmm.
things on a regular basis. You have to be able to do that to begin with. If this is something you spent 2 years making and you got 3 episodes done, are you really going to be able to keep up that deadline, that workload?
Yeah.
It's a lot more to think about.
I was gonna say that I really love how positive Webtoon's community is. Everyone who's creating and everyone commenting, because even on those like AI entries, I saw a lot of cool comments being like, hey, like you got this great idea, and like it's okay if you're not the best artist, but we want to see
very
show.
true.
Like, I just love how like positive and creative everyone is, even when it's not looking so good.
No, everyone's got to start somewhere, and it's it's art. Rather see what you have and it be genuine.
From the heart.
That's always better.
That is very true. I think that's partly the reason why Webtoon has the second round, because like in past contests, like this is basically a repeat of the 2018 contest. They had the same categories, pretty much similar rules, but they had 8 shortlist winners or shortlist people, and then they had the second round. I'm not sure what their rules were there. They might have had to put out another 2-3 episodes, something like that. So it's really similar in terms of like the contest structure. But I think they're really looking for people, because like you look at the schedule and it's like, okay, well, shortlist winners are announced June 23rd. You have until June 23rd until July 14th to give us 2 or more episodes. And so they're really looking for the people that can produce those extra episodes on time, get it done, because they're like, okay, we think you're good enough to be in our catalog, but can you like be able to hit those deadlines, right? And so I think a lot of us are kind of in this, during this initial judging period, like, do I prep more episodes? Do I not? Do I wait? Like, it's hard because I'm in that space right now.
Yeah. No, it's that waiting period that's the worst, right? But for us, we think that we have something that might be good enough. Or we're already neck deep into the next 2. We're in the coloring stage of the next episode, and then we're gonna have the kickoff pretty soon. We'll know whether or not we made it, but
either way,
if we did, we'll make it.
Put those up, right? Like,
of course.
True. We had out there that chunk.
Yeah, because that's the other thing too. We came up with this story, and we wanted the first 3 episodes. Okay, we want that to be the whole intro of like, okay, we start with the first scene where Ero introduces herself to Bo, and we're going to end on that scene as well. We're going to do that whole catch up in 3 episodes. No or not, we didn't make it. We had to split up one of them 2 episodes. Then we did it again. So like this is going to be 6 episodes now to do.
We have way more ideas too.
That's
as far as we have the layouts for.
Yeah, for layouts we've got the first 6, and we are definitely going to make those regardless. We're going to get those out. But we have plenty of ideas. Like there's originally 10 episodes at this point. I'm sure it could be over 20. It could be a whole season.
I have so many ideas.
And all that is just set up too. Like, well, kind of like initializing to where the main story begins, this whole journey. So I think if we do get picked up, we're going to have lots and lots for Webtoon,
Yeah, I tell this to my friends or whoever all the time, is if you look at past contest winners and even honorable mentions, and even who didn't win an honorable mention, like for example the 2016 contest, Instant Miso entered with Where Tangents Meet. She got bomb rated to hell. She had like a 6.9 rating or something, if I recall correctly, and she didn't win, but Webtoon still was like, hey, like Paul June was like, I really like your comic. Are you interested in be working with us? And she was like, wow. And so here she is, one of the most popular creators. And then I think the same happened with Marianne Bonastre. I think she entered the 2016 contest as well. Didn't win with Hooky, but then, look where she is now. And then you had like the 2018 contest. There was Courtney Worth It, who's a creator of Honey 11. She entered with Another Story. There's Ingrid Ochoa, who entered with The Kiss Bed, didn't win, and got like an honorable mention at a later date. And then like several others. Yeah, you like, even if you don't get a prize in the contest, there's still a high chance that you guys could get contacted by an editor, be like even if you don't win, there's still the potential of you guys getting picked up anyway.
Exactly.
If you don't win, don't lose that hope. Just keep putting out episodes.
I'd be happy for whoever wins. Like, I'm excited to read that. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, no, and that's definitely true. There's tons of eyes on this contest. I've seen people talk about like other editors outside Webtoon, I'm sure are going to be scouting for those who didn't win. Even
Oh, yeah.
A few years ago, a buddy of mine did an entry for, they had their action contest, I think.
Yeah, the call to action contest.
Yeah, so he entered. He didn't place, but they did reach out to him with an offer of, would you like to do a storyboard test for this upcoming series, which
Oh, interesting.
was paid, and he did that. And I mean, so that was an opportunity for him. I don't think I don't think it fully went through. But like, yeah, just that chance. We're like, okay, we don't want the story, but like, we recognize your talent. We want to give you another opportunity just to work with you. So like, anything can happen,
Yeah, it's true. Like I have friends who have felt really discouraged after like the initial period got over because they're like, I only have like 30 subscribers. I don't think they're gonna pick me. And I'm like, if you could look back, there's actually, Canvas will post their greenlit series on their Instagram pretty often when they, I think it's like I want to say every maybe month and a half, 2 months. Anyway, so they'll post the greenlit series and I always check them out because I'm like, ooh, I should go like check out these creators and I should go follow them or support them or whatever. And just check out their comics before they go to originals so I can like remember how different it was. And one of the creators that they greenlit right now, even after the announcement, they only have like, I think 1,300 subscribers on their comic. So it's not always the numbers game. It's really just what Webtoon is looking at and what they want to put in their catalog. Sometimes Webtoon will be like, we want more vampire romances. We want some, like if they're looking for a series to, like if they're looking at Canvas, sometimes the team will be like, we need more vampire romances. We need sports romance, stuff like that.
We need
and sometimes
yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes creators will even be like, hey, they wrap up their series and they're like, I've heard some creators I've talked to like, hey, I just wrapped up my series. I want to pitch you something. What is Webtoon looking for? And the team will be like, here. And then they're like, all right, let me see what I can come up with. And sometimes they'll have an idea that they pitch. And Webtoon's like, hey, we didn't think about that. But this sounds great. That kind of stuff. So my main point being is that you just never know what they're looking for, right? So I tell people to keep that in mind. Don't lose hope. Just try to. My biggest advice for anybody listening who entered the contest, maybe you don't win. I think the biggest thing is to just have a consistent upload schedule. And whatever it is, you stick to it. If that's monthly, if that's bi-weekly, and if you can do weekly, amazing. Do that, stick to it, be consistent. You don't have to have 40 panel long episodes. You can have 10 panels, you can have 20. But the consistency is like the most important factor in that. So, I mean, I'm assuming you guys are going to be like working hard and putting out what you can after. So, I'm really rooting for you. I'm crossing my fingers. So, for you guys, what would be your like the biggest dream come true with your comic?
Just to keep making it.
And not just like winning the contest, like, is there something even bigger that you would just love?
Yeah, well, I mean, I said before, my dream is to have a studio, and I mean, if we did win, that's life-changing money. That's money that could go towards building a studio because I have plenty of, artist friends and plenty of my own ideas would love to get out there, and
I'd
I
love to like ignite the industry.
Yeah, especially around here when there's so many animators that are just out of work and artists that are just so talented and have so many years of experience and they're just not able to do anything. I feel like I'm in a position with, Poppy and now Bo Ero where I can keep doing it and try and help out my friends as much as I can. So just whether or not we win, just being able to continue that and continue supporting each other would be fantastic,
Yeah, I want to continue the comic because like really I just like creating things that fills my brain with joy. I would love to see an animated show one day or like
Yeah.
Maybe we get so famous we get to go to a Comic Con. You know what I mean?
That'd be cool.
I just want to sell fan art. If it stops at
Yeah.
fan art, that's it for me. You know,
Oh,
someone
yeah.
wants a character that they've read about.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, printing books, because I've done self-publishing. I mean, for the rules of the contest, you can't self-publish this yet. Whether it gets picked up by Webtoon and it ends up being printed, like I know some of their originals are, that'd be great. Or if, we continue this independently, or even just find a different publisher and do it that way would be amazing. And to see it adapted either into book or to animation or even live action. Like I have a few friends who are like film students who are like, "Ooh, this would do I want to do live action of this." I'm like, that'd be cool, So any sort of adaptation or continuation would be fantastic.
Yeah, that would be so cool. I love asking people that question because I'm like, because I've seen some people I know that they had so a couple of the creators I interviewed previously, Emily and Dea, they're the creators of Blades of Furry on Webtoon, and they didn't have this in their contract, I don't think, because they didn't publish with Webtoon Unscrolled. They were able to publish their comic, and they actually had they hired an agent, and their agent got in touch with some publishing companies, and then people randomly will do animatics of their comic. And I know Webtoon has been putting out some little animated trailers for some comics, and so you never know if a fan thing could come through and could be and then that could lead into maybe a independent studio is like, oh yeah, we really love what they did, we're interested in animating your comic. Or a publisher could come along and be like, hey, we see your guys' success online, we'd love to work with you to print it. You never know what could come down the pipeline.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like there's just so many possibilities out there, and some of the time it's creators will go through things like Kickstarter to fund their own printing. One of my friends, she's done it for the last 10 years with her comic, and she's had really successful Kickstarter campaigns too. So yeah, you never know. There's a lot of ways you can make those things happen, and sometimes they just come to you too.
For sure. I mean, we're definitely going to be exploring many options here because, it's the Webtoon contest first and foremost. But if that,
just one door.
That's just the first one. Yeah. Door. I mean, we have plenty of material that we can use to pitch to other places, or I did do one Kickstarter for self-published Poppy, which is a lot of work, but there's also some other self-publishing routes and other people who are able to help. There's a few nonprofit publishers who kind of work with the creators, so there's lots of avenues.
We also have a decent convention circle in this area.
Yeah.
Get in, network with people.
Oh yeah,
there.
that's always fun to do. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my other guests that I interviewed, so they live in New Zealand, and they were actually able to get a grant from this organization in New Zealand to publish their comic in print, and the grant gave them money for the print, for shipping, and for the marketing money too.
Yeah, no, yeah, I was looking at, because I mean, we're here in Canada, there are Canada art grants for that. I think currently they're reformatting it for the summer, so the applications are open right now. But I'm definitely keeping an eye on that, and yeah, I've talked to some people in publishing where they apply for grants as well to supplement the cost. There's definitely lots of avenues, and there's definitely opportunity. You just need to find it, or pray that it finds you, for sure. Not looking, you're not gonna find it.
So I'd also love to know, I love asking these questions to my guests too, but for both of you, who are your favorite Webtoon creators, and what are your favorite Webtoons?
Instant Miso and Siren's Lament.
Yeah.
And I still have yet to check the newest series, but then there's also Pixie and Brutus, and I think really like Emmy the Robot.
Yeah, I was gonna say my favorite one, biggest inspiration is Emmy the Robot, by Dom Cellini, I think his name is. That was a huge inspiration of my first comic, or my first Webtoon, Poppy. And another one that not an inspiration content wise, but just the way he's like as an artist, the comic Blue Rivers Revolution, because that was probably one of the shortest comics I saw on there. Like it was like single panel, and I was like,
Oh, wow.
you can do like really short form on here. Like it really opened my eyes to,
Yeah.
you can do different types of comics on Webtoon, and that's inspired me to do a comic strip for Poppy, because he would do. I think his first episode is a bit longer, but the second one is like a single panel, and then after that it's like two, and it's a very like eclectic comedy that turns into an action war drama that was
Oh, wow.
really funny, and I almost went that route, but then just things changed, and ended up doing Poppy the way it is now. But I still follow him just as an artist. I think his name's Hiro Tonfa, I think's the username. Yeah. And then also Space Boy is also a big inspiration
Yes.
there. I love that one.
The art in Lore Olympus as well, like that creator's art just lives rent free in my brain.
Yeah, Rachel's style is very distinctive, and like you recognize it instantly. Like if you're familiar with webtoons, like that's Rachel Smythe's style. So before we wrap up today, I would just love to ask you both, what would be your advice for other people who may want to start a webcomic?
I really feel like collaboration can sometimes really help. It's not necessary, but I feel like it can help to just be a team and push each other. Like find someone you work with, like network with them, you know what I mean? That can be like a really good start just to get something out.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I would, to continue off that, not even just collaboration and necessarily that they need to be working with you on it, just getting feedback.
It's true.
Is a really important part, like, even if it's just friends and family. If you can get that other artist input, like I see plenty of webtoon creators collaborating online and being like, hey, I'm trying to do this and I can't quite get it working. What do you guys think? Fantastic. And or even just, like non-creatives, just getting that fresh first look of like, okay, what for a general audience, what do you think? And see if it's working or not. And you can do that at any stage of the process, from like just idea, like, hey, what do you think of this idea? Here's a script. What do you think of that? Here's my first rough sketches. What do you think? Like you can get feedback instantly. And that's definitely going to help a lot. I think having good people around you who can offer their honest opinion, not just say, oh, it's great every time, it's like, Mom, okay, yes, love it. But so having people who will like be honest about it,
like
and
give critique
and constructive criticism. Like for me, whenever I get feedback, I'm always like, okay, what they're telling me to change something, but why? And so I'm always like, well, what wasn't working? What you want to see this for what reason? And then you can delve deeper and see whether maybe that is the correct choice, and sometimes it's because there's a different reason, or it's just, and if you don't want to do it, then it's still yours. You don't have to, right?
Critique can be really hard, like that's its whole other beast, but like what I see in it is like it's not necessarily a criticism of me. It's just like, I can take my art as a professional, as an animator, and like it's not me they're after, it's just the product we're making, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's definitely the hardest
separate
part,
yourself a little bit,
which definitely takes experience of like, especially when you make something that's part of you put yourself into it. It's like for Bo Ero, it's like, yeah, Bo is definitely me. So anytime somebody critiques him, I'm like, okay, that's not me though. That's my art, and that's okay. That it's not perfect. But like also, exactly.
Like creating something you're passionate about is really good. Like something that you like, not just like what you think other people will necessarily like. Like that can go hand in hand. But like if you're gonna put all this time and effort into something, you might as well make it something you really love. Yeah,
you gotta
exactly.
Make what you want to see, what you want to read. That was how I did my very first comic, which ended up being called Quiet, a graphic novel of introversion, because I hadn't really read many comics about introversion at that time anyway. There's plenty of them now, but like at the time I was like, well, I haven't really seen anyone tackle this, so I'm going to make it, and that's what I wanted to see.
There's one thing Matthew's given me advice for personally, because I struggle with the writing process, because all my life I've been told, write what you know. And as like, person, I was like, I don't really feel like I've had a lot of interesting experiences. Like I took it very literally. But Matthew says, write what you like, and I really like that approach better. Like, do your research, you get in there with what you like.
Yeah, because like when they say write what you know, people read it the wrong way. It's not write what you've experienced. Sometimes you can. That's totally fine. That's, biography. That's fine. They mean like what are you knowledgeable about? What do you know? Like before I started drawing like Poppy, I knew nothing about the 1920s. And then I researched it, and now I know things about the 1920s. Now I can write about what I know, and it gives me ideas. So like if you have a special interest or just something you're really passionate about or something you want to be passionate about and learn, and then you learn about it, you know it, and you can write it. So yeah, write what you like.
Yeah, I got major imposter syndrome from being like, write what I know nothing.
So that's, I think, two biggest advices. Get honest and true feedback and write what you like.
And be your own fandom.
Be your first fan. Because
Yes.
if nobody else wants to read it, then you'll always have just one reader.
And that'll be me.
And that'll be...
As our cannons, and I'm shipping them off to you.
Yeah.
The best part is...
I think those are amazing pieces of advice, and I think they're also kind of underrated sometimes. And I think those are really, you hit the nail on the head. Okay, Matthew, Kamryn, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I'm so glad I could talk about Bo Ero and just your guys' thoughts on the contest. And I'm wishing you all the luck, sending you all the good luck vibes your way. I really hope it works out somehow.
I think even if we get to that first shortlist where we just get that pitch opportunity, I think they're going to like it because we have a lot more ideas beyond just what you've seen.
Amazing. Yeah. Fingers crossed. All right. So where can people find you online?
I think Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. On Instagram, I'm under the handle Stressy Nessie. It's a bit hard to spell, but mostly Instagram for me right now. And Matthew has a lot going on.
Yeah, Instagram is where I post a lot of art and comics. So that's... Yeah, and memes. That's at Matthew Senn 95. You can find some of my animation work, including previous television work, on YouTube, just under Matthew Senn. And then, Webtoon at Magooster14. If you haven't checked that out, we've got both Bo Ero, the romance angel comic, as well as Poppy, the girl who slept in 100 years, a comic strip comedy about redhead time travelers. So you should definitely check those out.
Yeah, absolutely. I will include both of your guys' links in our show notes to your socials. I'll include links to Bo Ero in there as well. Everybody go support them in the contest. They're amazing. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With some good vibes. If you found this podcast episode entertaining or informative, give us a like, give us a follow. You can find us on our socials at the Webtoon Wave. We are on TikTok, we're on Instagram, and you can watch full episodes on Spotify and YouTube. So stay creative, stay inspired, and we'll see you next time.